Start with some prayers. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Gurave Gaurichandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarini Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashid Dukha Bhag Bhaved Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, dear worshipable devotees, for taking out your valuable time to read here, discuss Bhagavad Gita. This is session number 40. And I was just thinking, wow, 40 sessions is over 40 weeks, right? Because we didn't have a few weeks. Time flies fast. Time flies fast. 40 weeks have passed. And sometimes when we are making good choices, we may not even feel like, if we would have not joining the Bhagavad Gita classes, then also 40 weeks would have passed. Yes or yes, right? Everyone agrees to that. But when we join a spiritual routine, so life will pass with that also and without that also. Whether we chant the holy names regularly, whether we read Bhagavad Gita regularly, whether we follow a life of regulated sadhana or not. Life will pass, right? And it's not that those who live a life of spiritual regime, they die out of hunger, right? Or they go bankrupt. Or they also live from the outside perspective. They also work, they also have family, they also have wife, husband, kids, etc. But one thing is happening for sure. The destinations they are building for future are totally different, right? And that's the whole title of this chapter, Attaining the Supreme. And how can we attain Supreme? By regular practice of Krishna consciousness. That will lead to a transcendental destination. And that regular practice is basically a moment-by-moment choice. Right now, this vacation time, Christmas time is coming. So everyone will spend it differently, isn't it? Everyone will spend it differently based on their life, their mindset, their finances, their whatnot. So many parameters they will fix. Their priorities, most importantly. Someone will go to a pub. Someone will go to a temple. Someone will go to Disneyland. Someone will go to Austria. Someone will, spend thousands of dollars in some adventure sports, right? And someone will utilize their time nicely. Oh, it's a time I could not do much in my regular days in spiritual life. Now let me take it more seriously by getting good association, by reading Bhagavad Gita, etc. So again, the point is life is a moment-by-moment choice. And moment-by-moment choices we make pave our future. So anyone remembers what we discussed in the last session, which was maybe last week? Anyone wants to share 1 or 2 points?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I think on the Sloka 14, we spoke about, as you just mentioned, in order to attain the Supreme, we have to practice this on a daily basis, routinely, and with the undeviated mind, ananya cheta, then nityam and sattam. So in order to remember God at the time of death, as we say, the life is preparation and death is the exam. So we have to prepare throughout the life by chanting in the holy name, and then that's how it will be recalled when it's time to go.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's where we are in the acronym DEAD, D-E-A-D. First the doubts, then the E is for, anyone remembers?
End of life.
End of life. Next number, I think 5, 6, 7, talk about that. And then A is for attaining the Supreme. That's the title of this chapter. So we will continue our discussion from where we left, and that was text 15. So like usual, if you are interested to read, you can raise your hand and keep it up until your turn comes. So let's see what Prabhupada Krishna is trying to teach us today. Bhagavad Gita. Yes, Avni, please.
Hare Krishna. Mam upetya punarjanma dukalyam ashashvatam nabnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. Translation: after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Back to you.
Haribol.
Abel.
Hare Krishna. This is one of the very, very commonly cited verses, especially these two words in here, which talk about this material world. And we'll pay special focus on these two words, Dukh Alayam and Ashashvatam. So anyone knows what does Alay mean? Alay?
It's a place.
It's a place or a home. You've heard Himalaya?
Yeah, Vidyalay,
Vidyalaya, Chhatralaya.
Granthalay.
Granthalaya is where granthas are there, or library. Pustak Alay, a home of books, or pustak is books. So Alay means books. Madiralaya, a place of Madira or a bar, right? So the point is, Alay means home. In Dukh, we all know, is, you know the word Dukha? Anyone has heard the word Dukha? Okay. Anyone has experienced it? Everyone has experienced? Or anyone who has not experienced any dukkha in their life? One time, one person came to Srila Maharaj and said, I don't have any dukkha in my life. I think there's no misery in life. No, I have no suffering at home. I said, okay, then you'll get it soon. Actually, his life had a topsy-turvy turn. So there is this material world is a home of misery. No, we're not trying to be pessimistic. We're not trying to be negative people. Hey, this world is a place of dishappiness or misery, unhappy and suffering and blah, 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 which some people think like that. Hey, why are you talking about death? Hey, why are you talking about misery? So it's both extremes are not healthy. One extreme is to be an ostrich. Ignorance is bliss. Okay. Don't talk about death. Don't talk about misery. Live life, king size, rosy, cozy. Everything is good, good. Be happy, right? And forget about death, right? Who cares? Who cares about death? Let's just forget. It's as good as saying, if tomorrow someone has a flight to New York, will they care about it or not? They'll care about it, right? Where am I going? Where will I stay? What will I do there? What will I eat? What will I, what's my purpose, right? How is the weather there? Let me check. Isn't it? We will do all that homework. We'll plan. We'll pack our bags accordingly. And similarly, if we know tomorrow that that's going to come, now tomorrow means literally tomorrow, or it could be 10 years, it could be 20, 50, whatever years, but it's going to come for sure, right? So intelligent person plans. And what is the nature of this world? BODY, birth, old age, disease, and death. Birth, old age, disease, and Yamaraj of death. BODY. And Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, Adi Atmik Kalishas. Miseries caused by one's own body and mind. Adi Atmika. Adi Bhautik, miseries caused by other living entities. Any examples of that? Other living entities causing some difficulties? Yes, Vedi?
Like sickness.
I couldn't hear you. Can you please repeat?
Can you hear me?
It's a little faint, but try.
I said sickness.
Sickness, yes, maybe malaria, right? Mosquito bite causes malaria. COVID is a good example. It's a living entity, right? A virus causing so much problem to the whole world. Neighbor causing some problem, or boss causing problem. So many people die of dog bites or some other animal biting, right? Adi Bhautik. Other living entities. Sometimes fight between relatives, they kill each other. Have you heard of those? Right? And all these by other living entities. And then Adi Devik, caused by the demigods, but it's not the demigods who are causing this, it's just one's own action and reaction cycle. But demigods just give the fruit, like cyclones, volcanoes, tornadoes, which people term as acts of God, but it's not acts of God. It's the reacts of God. if people kill cows, millions and millions of cows and cattle, and have a very irreligious life, then the reacts of God will certainly take into picture. Right? It's not the acts of God. Is not a person who hates us by causing us into floods and famines, but he loves us. So he's telling us, take to the life of a spiritual life. Human life is not meant to just live like an animal, eat, sleep, and that eating, sleeping, mating, defending. It's life for a sacred cause, a sacred purpose of Krishna consciousness. This is the word dukhalaya. That was one extreme, to forget, or to the ostrich. I will discuss this example. The ostrich puts the neck in the sand, trying to avoid the danger. But is the danger avoided? The tiger is approaching the ostrich, and the ostrich puts the head in the sand. Is the ostrich safe and secure? No, right? It's just a matter, maybe a few seconds, she's safe and secure in an artificial world, but just the tiger of death will devour soon. So similarly, whether we believe in God or we don't believe in God, whether we believe in Bhagavad Gita or don't believe in Bhagavad Gita, death will come. Now, for those who believe and those who live the life of Gita, their destination will be totally different from those who don't believe and don't live as per the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Now, that choice is the choice we have to make now, whatever our age is. So, Bhagavad Gita is the words of God, and Krishna here is stamping the world as, when there was like, say, I buy this mouse. When the manufacturer makes a mouse or any product, they have a stamp somewhere. Have you seen the stamp like QC approved, QA approved, quality assurance checked, okay tested, and there's like a checkbox or something like that. In most products, it's there, right? You've seen that? Who puts that stamp? Who puts that stamp?
The manufacturer, Prabhuji.
Yes, the manufacturer. That's absolutely correct. Whoever is building that product. If it's a Samsung phone, the Samsung company is who is building that. The production house is putting that stamp. If it's an LG TV, the LG company, wherever they have their manufacturing house where it's produced, is building that. And so the God, the Supreme Lord Krishna, has stamped this world as two adjectives here. And what is Dukh Alayam? It's a place of suffering or dukkha. And what's the next adjective? Ashashvatam. Shashvat means? Anyone? What does Shashvat mean?
Eternal.
Eternal. Yes. And so Ashashvat would mean?
Non-eternal.
Yes, that's perfect. And non-eternal basically means temporary.
Temporary.
So temporary. Life is temporary. Relationships are temporary. The so-called home, property, car, anything. One who is born is sure to die. The tree may have life of 500 years. An ant may have a life of 5 days. The phone may have a life of 2-3 years, right? Whether animate or inanimate. Everything is temporary in this world. Someone will say, hey, my home. Well, maybe someone will say, I bought this home 5 years back or 10 years back. Who was living in that home? Someone else before that. And that person bought the home probably, let's say 30 years back. Who was living there before? Or maybe there was nothing over there. It was a barren land. And maybe after 20, 30 years, will this structure where we are sitting right now, will it be there forever? For next 50 years, 100 years, 500 years, will it stay forever? No. So a lot of homes have come and gone. A lot of people have come and gone. So it is ashashvatam, temporary. It's not eternal. Material world is dukhalayam and ashashvatam. Now, what does that mean? That means one should search for a place which is shashvat, Satchid Ananda. Because material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So this material world is dukhalayam and ashashvatam, and the totally opposite is a place of Satchid Ananda, eternal joy, unlimited joy, and eternal. So you flip it, the opposites become ashashvat and dukhalayam. So sukha becomes dukkha and shashvat becomes ashashvat. That's the difference between material world and spiritual world. So Krishna consciousness, the Mahatmas receive transcendental messages from the realized devotees, and they gradually develop devotional service in Krishna consciousness and become so absorbed in transcendental service, they no longer desire. They no longer desire elevation to any kinds of material planets, nor do they want to be transferred in the spiritual planet. They only want Krishna and Krishna association. I'm reading for the purport, by the way. I forgot to share that. They only want Krishna and Krishna association and nothing else. That is the highest perfection of life. Now, an intelligent person should search, okay, what is the solution? Right? Just knowing the problem is not sufficient. Okay, the problem is it's ashashvatam and dukhalayam. Okay, please tell me, what is the real thing? Is there a place we can always be happy? So this verse is telling that material world now has 14 planetary systems, And the yogis may go to upper planets, like some people say Swargavas, and going to heavenly planets, etc. But that's not the destination. That's not the highest destination. Why? Because they will keep floating in the material world. Getting to, for example, most of us are right now sitting in America here, US. Many people, including myself, had this notion that people in America are very happy, right? They are very successful, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of name, fame, adoration, a lot of comfort, and they have no problems, right? Many people think like that, isn't it? What do you say? Many people think like that? That money is the solution to all the problems. So if I just get a visa to America, or if somehow, people in India are willing to pay like lakhs and lakhs of rupees to somehow get a visa to US, right? Why? The notion is that if I get here somehow or the other, I'll be always very happy, right? Because everyone wants happiness. So some people may say, okay, well, you have not been to America, so how can you say that they are not happy? Well, then I can say that, okay, no, I live in America, so I know that people are not happy. Okay, how about Switzerland? People over there are very happy. You're not been to Switzerland. Or how about Hawaii? How about Canada? Have you been to all the places in the world? And have you experienced, maybe there's a place in the material world where people are always happy. One says, I've been to all the countries in the world. And then someone say, well, then you haven't been to the higher planetary systems, Indraloka, Chandraloka, Suryaloka. There are no problems there. They are always happy. So how can we answer that? Why are you? Does the question make sense? Is the question too complex, or is it making sense? Right? Any thoughts?
The wheel of life has to be experienced by everyone, wherever he or she lives.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're here. The question again, let me reiterate. The question is that why are we saying the material world is a place of unhappiness? And how can we just kind of say that the spiritual path is the source of like happiness? Maybe there is a place in the material world which I may have not experienced, but is there. So what the scripture is saying, it's like an ocean of falls, an ocean of the material world is dukkha sagara. At other places it's said dukkha sagara. So the so-called happiness in this world, the so-called happiness, whether one, let's say, gets a new home, feels a little bit happy. One gets a new car, feels a little bit so-called happiness. Gets a new maybe job or promotion or marriage and maybe child. These are moments which give a little so-called happiness. But it's like when we put let's say you make 2 kilograms or 2 pounds of sweet rice, nice sweet rice, and you put 2 spoonfuls of sand in it, right? How will it taste? Very good, healthy? No, right? The material world is compared to, it's like 200 kilograms of sand and 1 spoon of sweet rice. Right? So a lot of hard work, lot of struggles, maybe there's tiny little bit of so-called happiness, which makes the people bound in the material world, right? Which makes the people bound. One time, there's a joke and a story. There was a psychiatrist in a town, and a patient came to him, said, "Doctor, I'm suffering. I am depressed. My life, nothing is going well, and I have so many problems and this and that. It is really dukhalayam. Please help me out. So I get to say a lot of patients come to me with these such kind of issues. And I also sometimes get this kind of issues like that because so many people come to me. And you know what I tell them? Hey, go and visit the circus in the town. The circus is really excellent. And there's a wonderful joker who's so good at acting and making people laugh, and he's so funny. The costumes are so funny. The makeup is so funny. Everything is so wonderful. You'll have a big laugh. You'll have a big change of mood. And the patient said, I'm the joker in the circus. I'm that joker. Right? So life is like that. Everyone is struggling. If they truly ask themselves, if they're honest and truly ask, then the life will show that life is not a place to be really searching for happiness. If I am very optimistic, and people say, why are you pessimistic? It's like, finding New Delhi in the map of New York. If one is very, very optimistic, or finding New Delhi in the map of US, can we find it? No. Okay. Like someone can say, hey, why are you saying no at the first hand? Haven't you even tried that? You're so pessimistic, Avni, whether you just said no, you didn't even try. You should try, be optimistic, try, and then they'll try. Okay, let me try, right? And then say, sorry, I tried my very best, but there's nothing here. Then someone will write a book on it. 100 ways to find New Delhi in New York, New Delhi in US. And that's what happens. 100 ways to enjoy in this material world. 100 ways to smoke. 100 ways to drink alcohol, right? 100 ways to have illicit relationships. These are very common things. There is no real substance. There's no real happiness, but people try to enjoy it in different ways. Ultimately, what will come? Unhappiness, dissatisfaction. It's like a cake. Instead of sugar, there is salt. No matter from which direction we taste it, it will taste salty, right? So this is material world. This is material world where there is no real happiness. So rather than trying to invest our energy to make things very, very pleasing, trying to change things, trying to adjust, which we should try in our limited capacity, I'm not saying that one should stop working, stop going to school, college. One should do one's dutiful endeavor. At the same time, one has to understand that rather than trying to adjust, I have to focus on the real solution. There's a story of a frog. A frog is put in water. In the water, it's like just a pan of water, like a small container of water, and the frog is in it. And the water is put on the heating on the stove, and the water is gradually getting hot, right? Now what frog does, frog tries to adjust his body to adapt to that water temperature. The water is getting further hot, the temperature is increasing, and at one point he has utilized all of his energy to just adjust to that temperature, and then he can't do any further, and then he dies. If he would have understood, right, that this is not a place to adjust, this is a place to get out, he could have easily jumped out. A frog can easily jump a small pan of water. So some people, they keep adjusting their life till the very fag end of their life, that now I will get happiness, now I'll get happiness, this will give me happiness. Okay, only if I get a job, I'll be happy. oh, only if I get married, I'll be happy. Only if I have kids, I'll be happy. Only if I have grandkids, I'll be happy. This is like adjusting. And what we ignore the path to get out. And what is that path? The path of Krishna consciousness. So, what does scripture say? So now I'm going to answer to your question, the question I asked. So someone will say, well, you have not experienced heavenly planets. Maybe that's the way to go. Maybe that's the way everything will be rosy cozy. So this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, very, very important reference. Dravyam vayah karma gunan vinishesham yad yogamaya vihitam vadanti yadro vibhavyam prabhu prabudha padham prasidatam na samaha vibhutihi. Whether you want to read the translation, please.
Hare Krishna, all learned men said that the five elements, eternal time, fruit of activity, the three modes of material nature, and the varieties produced by these modes are all creations of Yog Maya. This material world is therefore extremely difficult to understand, but those who are highly learned have rejected it. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the controller of everything, be pleased with us.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So the Bhagavatam, the crest jewel of all the Vedic literatures, is saying those who are highly learned, they have rejected it. So the material world is not a place to build a real home. In the Bible, it says, don't build your home here, build your home in the kingdom of God, in the spiritual world. That's a real eternal home, right? And what does that building the home mean? It basically means the process of Krishna consciousness. So intelligent people learn through others' experiences. The experience of highly learned sages, which is shared here. Life is too short to experience oneself. Do you agree with that? Life is too short to experience one's own self. Intelligent people learn through others. For example, someone will say, well, I have not, drank alcohol or smoked cigarette and all. Hey, you have not, done these things. So how can you say these are bad? Or how can you say there is no real pleasure in there? Now, then I can say, let's look at this verse. Intelligent people, the learned sages, in the Bhagavatam is speaking that, right? That the intelligent people have rejected it, right? Intelligent people have rejected it. And I have also seen in my own limited, that if the cigarette packet itself is saying that this can cause cancer, then that's not a sign of great intelligence to try it and experience my own self. That's basically foolishness. And that too at the cost of my own money, my own health, my own time to try some disease and ruin my life. That's not intelligent. Right? What do you think? Is that intelligent? So if we keep trying everything, like how many of us try to eat naphthalene balls or it's a rat poison. We don't try to eat it and see is it really poison, right? We use it or whatever, like so many examples. Like we don't try everything in life to we just go by the experience of others or the words of Guru Sadhu Shastra. The more we learn through our ears by hearing, the better the life will be. So the great souls have rejected that. Now, Prabhupada named a devotee named Bhavananda. So we are saying the Bhava Sagar is a sagar of dukkha. Prabhupada named a devotee Bhavananda. Bhava means it's material world. Ananda means happiness. And then devotees were confused. But you say that the material world is an ocean of suffering. So what does Bhavananda mean? But there is one joy, the joy of bhakti, the joy of Krishna consciousness, and the joy of sharing Krishna consciousness. And that devotee who is practicing Krishna consciousness through the process of chanting, reading, hearing, prasadam, etc., is basically Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Shochati Na Kanchati. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. So that Atma, that Jiva is very, very happy, even in the midst of all the ocean of suffering. That's what we are aspiring for, to be like a lotus. Where is lotus? In Kichad, in muddy waters. So yes, we are in this muddy waters of this material world, which is full of dukkha, ashashvata. But in that muddy water, we can be a lotus by practicing Krishna consciousness. That will give us real joy, real happiness, and which the soul is looking for. Right? There's another verse. Someone wants to read the verse and the translation again from the Bhagavatam, Canto 4. In this connection. Akshay, please.
Yes, Guruji. Atatvam asino brahman paramatman vipaskitam viswam rudrabhaya dvastam akudasti bhayagati. Translation: My dear Lord, all actually learned persons know you as the Supreme Brahman and the Super Soul. Although the entire universe is afraid of Lord Rudra, who ultimately annihilates everything, for the learned devotees you are the fearless destination of all. Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Thank you. So basically, everyone is afraid of death. Yes. Even it is said that Rudra, there are 11 Rudras. Rudras are also afraid of other Rudras. The devotee was sharing. But the learned devotees, the Krishna conscious devotee, you are fearless. You are the fearless destination. Narayana parasarve nakutaschan bibhidyati. They are not fearful. Nakutaschana bhaya. This bhaya is very, very strong. This material world is called pavarga. Pa, fa, pa, bha, and ma. Anyone knows what does pa, fa, bha, ba, ma mean? The pavarga? Yes, what does it mean? Pa is for parishram. Parishram. Lot of hard work. So much hard work. This much result. Infinitesimal.
Bha is for bhai, right?
Bha is for bhai. Jumping from pa to bha. Chalo, jo aata hai, wo to bata.
Fena. Fena, Prabhuji.
Fena. Fa is fena. Foam. Fa. Fena. F. Foaming to the mouth. And it's literally foaming to the mouth. I saw a video in Japan. People are working so hard, 18 hours a day and stuff like that. And then they literally foam to the mouth and then they drop, sometimes fainting, sometimes unconscious. Very, very hard struggle. Prakriti sthane karshati. What is ba? Ultimately is vyartha, right? So much energy, so much time one invests. Where does it go? Right? Either the family members will take it, or the government will take it, the thieves will take it, or some natural calamity, or something will happen. No one is going to take whatever, their home, their car, their degrees, their beauty, their whatever one is very proud of, right? Bha is bhaya. The more one has, the more fear one has, right? And ultimately, the ma of mrityu. So to get out of the cycle is the process of bhakti. So now we are switching gears from being working on the platform of fear to the working on the platform of love. One can do actions motivated by fear, which is fine in the beginning, right? Because four kinds of people come, right, to approach Krishna. And one is because of some troubled by some difficulties, loss of a dear one, loss of a job, loss of something, they want some remedy. That's fine. But ultimately, our motivation is not that I will die, so I should do bhakti, right? That's a decent motivation in the beginning, but the real motivation for a devotee is to please the Lord, right? Whether I die tomorrow or live for 50 years, that's in the Lord's hand. But in my hand is to do my best to please the Lord. That is a higher motivation. So we spent quite some time on this verse, but it was quite important, and it is discussed many times, right? So again, we are not pessimistic, but at the same time, looking for New Delhi in the map of US is not called optimistic. It's called foolishness, right? So we have to be realistic, and realistic is that, Baba, this is not the right map. You're trying to find New Delhi, you take the map of India. You will find it there. Then do your hard work there. So similarly, you're trying to find real joy. You will not find in the map of material world. Take the real map of Krishna consciousness, the spiritual, and then do the hard work of bhakti. Then the real joy will come. In the material map, in the map of material world, whether you go to America, you go to Switzerland, you go to upper planets, you go to lower planets, you'll not find the real happiness. That's what scriptures is teaching. Not trying to be pessimistic, but trying to be realistic and give us the right map, give us the right vision so that we can see the true happiness and find it where it belongs. And that is in Krishna consciousness. So now we'll move on to the next verse. Just text number 16. Yes, Shital Mataji, want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Abrahma bhuvanaloka punarvartino Arjuna mamupette tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. Translation. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Very nice verse again. But we have already kind of discussed this. I'm going to share this chart, which we have discussed many times. So we are in the Bhuloka, or Earth is in the Bhuloka. There are 14 planetary systems in the material world. We are 8th from bottom or 7th from top. So kind of in a very good location, right? Because when this is compared to a building where there are 7 stories up and 7 at the bottom in the basement, and we are in the ground floor. When the building is on fire, what's the best place to get out? Which floor is the best place when the building is on fire?
Ground floor.
The ground floor, because the escalators don't work, right?
First floor, as they call it here.
Huh?
First floor, Prabhuji, US.
Ground floor, yeah, first floor.
Yeah.
First 3 years, I got confused only what first floor and ground floor. And so it's on the first floor. Okay, first floor. I went to the first floor, and then I'm trying to find where is the first floor. Okay, first floor is the base level.
Prabhuji, you are not alone. You are not alone in getting confused. I'm with you.
Yes. Thank you. So the point here is that these are the places where the higher denizens live: Indra, Chandra, Varuna, etc. And Prabhupada is quoting, and they have a lot more facilities. They have a lot more wealth. They have a lot more beauty. The richest person of the world, all these big shots, Jeff Bezos, Mark, and then Elon Musk, their wealth is nothing in compared to the denizens of heavenly planets. Their beauty is nothing in compared to the Miss World of or Miss Universe of this world. They say Miss Universe. They don't compete with the denizens of heaven. Actually, it's just Miss Earth only. They can't go beyond that. But just they include everything as if some denizens of heaven are also competing. Prabhupada mentions in other purports, the denizens of heaven are so beautiful that the most beautiful lady or the most beautiful gentleman of this world is like a frog in front of them. Can you imagine? So people think by having these things, wealth, beauty, name, fame, knowledge, education, I'll be happy. But ask as if the most beautiful people is the most happy, or the most wealthy people. Rather, they are more suffering. Michael Jackson, so much fanfare, so much falling. He used to say, I sleep like a child. I sleep like a child because after every 2 hours, I get up and cry. Right? That is the situation. So the point is that we may, until we are revolving in this material world, we will keep going up and down like an escalator, going up, down, pious activities little up, pious little down, or stay in this world. And then within this 14 worlds, there are so many varieties of species like dog, cat, cow, mat, lion, and asuras and rakshasas and whatnot. But a devotee aspires for Mamupetya Tukonteya Punarjanma Na Vidyati. One who attains me, or Krishna Loka, there is no rebirth again. And Krishna Loka, as we have discussed, the spiritual world is Satchidananda, eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge. So an intelligent person aspires for that rather than going up and down. We may have already, we don't remember, we may have already been through Indra Loka, Chandra Loka, ant species, dog species, cat species, right? There's a nice story when Indra became a pig, and he was so attached to eating the pig food. We all know what that is. Not the sophisticated pigs of US, but the Indian street pigs, what they eat. It's basically stool, right? When Narad Muni came to remind him, hey, you were Indra, but he was attached to eating his pig, doing his pig business. So the point here is that intelligent person works to solve the root cause of the problem, right? The root cause is the cycle of repeated birth and death. The root cause is forgetfulness of Krishna. So that's why we are here. We're trying to remember Krishna, to inspire each other, the process of bhakti, so we don't have to take repeated birth in the cycle of birth and death. And this is the foremost duty of a human being. This is the foremost duty of a mother, father, husband, guru, teacher, well-wisher. The Shastras say that. Let's see. What is that verse? Pita. Yes, it's found that verse. 5:18. Let's read that verse. Anyone wants to read this verse? The foremost duty. Yes, Prabhupada.
Gururna sasya savajana sasyat pita na sasya janani na sasyat Daivam na tatsaya na patischa sasyan namo shayedya samupeta mrityam. One who cannot deliver his dependents from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. Hari Bol, very strong.
Isn't it? Very strong and clear. The scriptures are very, very strong and clear. They're not saying the foremost duty as a mother, as a father, as a husband, as a spiritual master is to give good food. Good food, parrot also gives the children. Of course, we are not saying to starve the children, but the point is animals also provide food. The bird also builds a nest for their children. The lion also gets the food or train this child, the cub, to get the food. The lizard also provides for the food. The donkey also provides, today we're talking about donkey, also provides food to the donkey children. But this is the real duty as a mother, as a father, as a husband, as a guru, as a well-wisher. If we call ourselves a well-wisher, what is that? To relieve the dependence from the cycle of repeated birth and death. 5.5.18. Na mochayedya samupeta mityum. That person, my wife, my children, don't have to take birth again. That's the culture I want to give to my dependent. Because children are dependent on the parents. The disciple is dependent on the guru, right? It's a very, very important verse here. Okay, so we will read one more verse and then we'll wrap up. We'll keep it very short today. Yes, Sampata.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, text 17. Sahasra yuga paryantam aharyad brahmano viduhu ratrim yuga sahasratam sahasrantam te aho ratra vidojanaha. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together from the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, back to you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. We'll cover these three together. So let's read the 18th. Yes, Abhishek. Ji, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Avyaktat vyaktayam sarva pravantya haragame ratyagame pradiyante tatre vavya yaktya sangyake. Translation. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. Ribol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay, one last verse and then we'll discuss these three together. Yes, Natasha / Anita Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Bhuta Gramasa Evayam Bhutva Bhutva Pralityate I Ratri Agame Avasha Partha Prabhavati Ahar Agame. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All the great souls are together. Thank you. So this is about a little bit about Lord Brahma, what he does, what's his lifespan. Where does Lord Brahma reside? In the Satyaloka, or the topmost Pentagon, special place, right? The topmost floor. But is the topmost floor free from the repeated cycle of birth and death? What do you say? No, right? Can you prove it with a verse? We just read that verse. Abrahma bhuvanaloka punaravartino Arjuna. Is this in your list? 50 verses?
Not what I said.
No. Okay, but you can try to learn some important words. So what does it say? From the highest planet, from the Brahmaloka to all the lower planets, all these are part of repeated birth and death. Whether one is Brahma, and Prabhupada is mentioning actually here, not even Brahma is free from the process of birth, old age, disease, and death. Right? The famous story when Hiranyakashipu asked Lord Brahma, hey, give me immortality. What did Brahma say? I will give you. What did he say? Anyone remembers the story of Hiranyakashipu and Brahma? He asked, give me immortality. What did Lord Brahma say?
Even I don't have immortality.
Yeah, even I don't have. How can I give it to you? Then Hiranyakashipu asked, okay, I should not be born in a day, or I should not be killed by a human or an animal, day or night, inside, outside, a lot of conditions you put. But Lord is the, who can simultaneously be born as a human and an animal, and then nourishing the devil king. That's a separate story, but the point here is that Brahmaji is also part of the material world. And even one goes to the level of Brahma, but still that's not a eternal destination. One can still keep repeating in this material pool. And there's a very nice, what does Brahmaji do? Brahmaji has a seva. He's called the secondary creator. Sarga, Visarga is the secondary creator. So at the beginning, all living entities manifest from the unmanifest state. So Brahmaji's day, let's see what that means. You see this circle here? This is one day of Brahma on the top. One day of Brahma has 14 Chatra Yuga, 14, this is called Manvantaras. Or each Manvantara has 71 Chatra Yugas. It's a little technical, so if you don't understand it, forget it. Don't worry about it. No. This is not required to come back to Godhead. But if you understand it, that's fine. And this is kind of a layout which really helps to understand. So one Kali Yuga we all know. So KY stands for Kali Yuga, is 432,000 years, human years. One Dwapar Yuga is twice of Kali Yuga, which is 864,000. One Treta Yuga is 3 times of Kali Yuga. And one Satya Yuga is 4 times of Kali Yuga. And this cycle is called Chatur Yuga. So what is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4?
10.
10. Perfect. So this cycle is equivalent to 10 Kali Yugas. Right? Is everyone good so far? So 10 Kali Yugas is equivalent to 10 times of this number, which is 4,320,000 years. Right? Everyone following or lost in the math? Okay. So one Manvantara is 71 times of this. So 71, if you multiply, and that's the calculation here, 71 times this is basically 306 million years. Okay. Everyone following? Now, what is Brahma's day age? 14 times of that. So 14 times, because 14 Manvantaras are there. So 14 times approximately this is Brahma's one kalpa. There's a little period of transition also. So basically, to be more precise, it is one day of Brahma has 12 one day of Lord Brahma, 12 hours of Lord Brahma. 14 Manvantaras is equivalent to 994 Chaturyugas, or 14 times 71, and round it off, it becomes 1000 Chaturyugas. So 1,000 times this, okay? And that's basically the calculation. 1,000 times, you can do 1,000 times this, or you can do 71 times this. Either way is fine. Does that make sense? So that's half a day of Brahma, or one day, like morning. So 71 times 14, Chaturyugas, or 14 Manvantaras. Manvantaras is Manu, the period of Manu, right? And right now we are at 7th Manu. So Brahma's half day is over. Approximately. And so is the night. So is the night. So one full day of Brahma is basically 2 kalpas, which becomes twice of this number, or approximately 8.6 billion years. Now 1 month has 30 days, so 30 times 2 kalpas. 1 year has 12 months, which is 12 times this number. And Brahma's lifespan is 100 years, which is 100 times this number, which is 311 trillion years. If you want, I can share all this with you. And this is what Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport also. But this is kind of a way to understand a little better, if that helps. So if you forget everything, 311 trillion years approximately is Brahma's lifespan. Currently, we are in the 7th Manvantara and 28th Chaturyugas. 7th Manvantara will have how many Chaturyugas? Quick question. 7th Manvantara will have how many Chaturyugas?
Around 36 manvantras. 36 Chatur Yoga Prabhuji. 71 Chatur, yeah.
Okay, so you're saying left. So every Manvantara will have 71. So 71 minus 28 is left, approximately.
Yeah. अभी बहुत time बाकी है प्रभु.
But we won't be there. Oh, this is Brahma's lifespan. Our lifespan is 100 earthly years. So we think, and just think about Brahmaji must be thinking this kind of ignorant soul is thinking that he's going to live forever. If we think an ant whose life is 5 days, an ant is thinking, oh, I have to get married and have children and then have grandchildren and build a home and get nice some laddu. What will we think? Wow, such a foolishness. Death is like, waiting at the door, and she is having big plans. What will she do in 5 days and 5 days after there are creatures like that who have lifespan of few days, right? So Brahmaji's lifespan is 1 trillion times more than us, right? Approximately, isn't it? So it's nothing. Our lifespan is nothing in front of him. He must be also kind of laughing at us. If it's too complex, then don't worry, but this is all shared. So Brahmaji, in the morning, he does the service of creating the material world. In the night, it is called the partial dissolution. And when Brahmaji's 100 years complete, it's called the full dissolution, or pralay. So, any thoughts, comments? I know it's not the best time in the night to talk about these numbers. Avani is already feeling it's too much. Is it? Anyone has any questions on this matter or clarifications you need? Is it helpful or complex?
Prabhuji so on the daytime, the Brahma is doing the creation, as it says, again and again. When Brahma's day arrives, all living entities coming. And in the night time, it gets helplessly annihilated. So when the 100 years of Brahma gets complete, then the full pralay happens. Then what happens? Everything is gone.
Yeah, in the causal ocean.
Causal ocean. So
in
what's
the
the
Karuna
difference?
Daksai Sagar.
Okay, so what is the difference in the night annihilation and the full parley annihilation, like full 100 years ke baad wala annihilation?
Yeah, so this is called the partial annihilation. So the partial annihilation, only the lower planets are covered in the submerged in the what's that ocean? Garbhodak Shai Sagar. So Garbhodak Ocean, they are submerged in that, and all the people in the upper planets, they go, and the Brahmaloka is still there, and their lifespan is much longer. So they go there and do their tapa, jnana, yoga, etc. But the lower planets are submerged.
So lower planets reference is from Bhuloka and down, like out of 14.
Bhuloka and down, somewhere it said up to even like the little bit more above as well. There are, the different scholars or different devotees have given different opinions, but certainly Bhuloka and down, and a little bit sometimes the Bhava Swa as well. But and somewhere Prabhupada has written they go to the Brahmaloka. So they have the interloka travels, airlines, which is not accessible to us. We think we know a lot, but we don't have an airline going from Bhuloka to Bhavaloka or Swaraloka, right? But Narada Muni does not need any airlines. So same with Brahmaji, he doesn't need airlines. Indradev, when he has to meet Brahma, they have their ways to get there. So
okay.
Yeah, I have heard like top 3 planets, 3 systems stays, but all the others.
yes, as I said, there are different commentaries, and there's a difference in in between the manvantaras transition. Also, there is different understanding by different Vaishnava acharyas. So not to go in too much in technicalities and get confused, but yeah, this is like the brief difference. So this is about Brahma, and the point here, the main point here is to understand that Brahmaji is also not completely free from all this, right? One will conclude by sharing this from text number 19. Who was not yet read, can read this section. Anyone who has not read?
Can I?
Yes, please read.
Hare Krishna. Ultimately, when Brahma's life is finished, they are all inherited again. Ultimately, when Brahma's life is finished, they are all inherited and remain unmanifest for million and million of years. And when Brahma is born again in this again in another millennium, they are again manifest. In this way, they are captivated by the spell of the material world. But those intelligent persons who take to Krishna consciousness use the human life fully in the devotional service of the Lord, chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thus they transfer themselves even in this life, in the spiritual planet of Krishna, and became eventually blissful, there not being subject to such rebirths. Back to you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. This last few lines are the crux here. Those who are intelligent, they take to Krishna consciousness. Intelligent people take to Krishna. Those who are fools, they'll keep revolving in the cycle of birth and death. Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. It's not a very joyful experience, right? Those who are intelligent, they take the process of bhakti and they go to the Krishna Loka and they are eternally blissful and no rebirth. They're free and they fulfill the goal of human form of life. And that is the real goal, which we're all aspiring for. That's why we are here. That's why Prabhupada came here to share the real message of bhakti, to remind us for what we have lost. Because 99.9% of the population, the goal is what they say. I want to be happy, I want to get a job, I want to get maybe nice career or something. But ultimately, the goal is happiness, and we cannot be happy in the material world. So therefore, we have to work on attaining the Supreme. And attaining the Supreme, the process is simple. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Follow the ABCD of Bhakti Association, good sadhana, good seva, good reading of books, good Gita, Bhagavatam, Vaishnav Seva, good sadachar, and chanting the holy names, taking Krishna Prasad, worshipping the deities. Then that's it. That's it. Right? That's it. Which other complex name. So yeah, I'll pause here and see if anyone has any comments, thoughts, corrections, questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, please.
Prabhuji, I have a question. In the verse 18, it's saying that all the living entities, they become unmanifest towards the end. So is that like individuality is lost there of the soul, like, or still it's like the individual jiva?
Very good question, Mataji. The individuality is never lost. The individuality, the subtle body accompanies the soul, the subtle body, including the desires. So for example, let's say this is the last Chatur Yuga, last Kali Yuga going on for Brahma's day. Okay. Out of 1,000 or 994 Chatur Yugas, to be more specific, the last Chatur Yuga, and in the last Chatur Yuga, the last Kali Yuga is going on. And then I'm there, and I'm living a very tamasic life and have a very nonsensical life. And guess what? Will everything be reset? All my bank account, all my karmic reaction is gone. All my impure activities are gone. No. All that is very properly, reserved in the system of the Supreme Lord and his agents. They don't make a mistake. My karma, you won't get. Your karma, I won't get. Very simple. So the desires which the jiva is having, the activities the jiva has performed in the body or with the medium of the body, so all those the impressions are there. The subtle body made up of mind, intelligence, and ego is also there. And along with the desires, when the next day comes, the data is not lost. Based on that data, one will get, oh, I wanted to be in a very, very cold place. I like cold. Okay. And I was like lazy also. I like to sleep a lot. Okay, you wanted cold and you also lazy. Okay, polar bear. Sleep for 6 months in the snow-covered mountains. That's what you wanted. So be it. Tathastu. So again, back to your question. No, it is not lost. It is not lost. Does that help?
Yes, Prabhuji. And one other question, if I may ask.
Yeah, please.
In the shloka where we discussed about dukkhalaya swashvatam, we said the happiness is temporary, but also happiness that the jiva experiences in this material world is very subjective and it's very relative to one's own expectations and experiences. So if we say the spiritual world, like our material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world, the happiness in spiritual world will be permanent, it's eternal. But is there qualitatively difference that the jiva experiences there also, or is it same for all the jiva?
I'm not sure if I understood your question correctly, but to give some thoughts on, yes, the happiness in the material world is very relative, right?
Yeah.
That's basically, it's not even called happiness, it's called pleasure. Like if my car breaks, it's a problem for me, but for the car mechanic, it's joy, it's happiness, right? It's relative. So real happiness is basically, because it is all in the material world is full of envy, and one man's problem, other man's joy. But in the spiritual world, it is the mood is totally service oriented. So when the seva is, when the joy is derived in the seva, that's real joy. And we can experience the glimpse of it in the material world also. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita session we were talking 2 days back, that when we honor prasad, we feel joyful, right? But we feel more joy in distributing or sharing that prasad with others, right? Do you agree with that? When we see others honoring nice Krishna prasad, others experiencing their bhakti starting, they're experiencing Krishna consciousness, they're so happy, their life's getting transformed, that's a much bigger joy. Why? Because there is no envy. There is no envy. There is no false prestige. In the material world, basically, the so-called pleasure is sometimes referred to as absence of suffering. You ask someone, how are you? Okay, yeah, I'm fine, no suffering. Right? So in the material world, it's even hard to experience the positive side of the graph. In graph, there is negative axis and the positive axis and the zero axis. In the material world, if there is no negative, the people think it's happiness. But we have not even explored the positive axis, which is the joy of Krishna consciousness. Glimpse of it can be certainly experienced in the material world. As we said, Bhavananda. Bhavananda means the joy in material world, and that joy is Krishna consciousness. By sharing books with others, Bhagavad Gita is, Jayanti is coming. It's the best time to share books with others. When we see people, genuinely happy in by experiencing Krishna consciousness, their habits, their bad habits getting changed, that's real joy, right? On a spiritual connection, we may not even know those people, right? Technically, they are strangers. We meet so many people in the streets, in the marketplaces, but when we, on a spiritual level, the connection develops and we feel so happy, because that's on a spiritual level, right? Does that align with your question or no?
Yes, Prabhuji, but I guess my question was like in the spiritual world, in the spiritual realm, when the jiva, different jivas are there. So that happiness, which is eternal, is experienced, is it differently by different jivas, or is it like at the same level? Are there any references in scriptures to that?
In different rasas, you mean?
At the jiva level, not different rasas. Whatever, like say there is a jiva A, jiva B in the spiritual realm, and each jiva is experiencing the happiness. So is whatever the experience, is it at the same level? Is A is experiencing the same as B, as C?
To quantify that.
Yes. I'm just curious. Maybe silly.
Yeah, I think in the rasa level, it's nice to understand. Like, for example, like if I ask you, you like to feed your family, let's say paratha, and you like to get some maybe gifts for them. They both give you joy, maybe, right? Both give you joy, but at a different. So in the spiritual world, someone is cooking for Krishna, someone is dressing Krishna, someone is playing as a friend with Krishna. They're all happy There is a lot of variegatedness, absolutely. There are a lot of rasas, and everyone is happy. The peacocks are happy. They're also giving joy by their dance. The birds are happy by giving them their beautiful song. And no one is comparing or competing that, hey, I'm better than you, or hey, how can you do this to me? That is in the material world. In the spiritual world, everyone is happy to see everyone serve Krishna, because Krishna is the center. So in a community also, it's a great lesson. We should not compete with each other. We should help each other, inspire each other, so that everyone can do their best for Krishna. That's spiritual world actually. Or in a family, right? In a community of devotees. If everyone is doing their best for Krishna based on whatever ways, ideas, capacities, someone can sing nicely, someone can organize programs, someone is good at something, someone is good at cooking, etc. Is that okay? I think Dasha Mataji wants to add something. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanmat Pranam.
Hari Bol.
Prabhuji, Hari Bol Prabhuji. I was just imagining what some other devotees might have answered to Mataji's question, just a little humor for everybody. So I was imagining what Abhiram Gopal Prabhu might have said. He might have said that, Mataji, you keep on this path. When you get the realization, you will know what kind of happiness you experience, and then you share with us. We don't have that much realization to understand the difference of the spiritual versus material happiness. But no, Prabhuji, on a serious note, so I was remembering, I think this is Bhakti Tirth Maharaj is saying, when he had so much cancer and everything, somebody asked him, how are you feeling? Are you in pain? He said, yes, I'm in pain, but I'm not suffering. And that is the position of very advanced devotees. Externally, you might be in distress or in pain because of external reasons, because happiness and distress is from external reasons, or from, like Mataji said, very relative, right? But the suffering but the anand, the bliss is inside. So externally, it may appear that the devotee is suffering or going through very tough situations, but internally, actually, they are not suffering because they are always connected to Krishna, who is absolute. So there is no, and then their anand is absolute. They are completely connected to Krishna, so they are not suffering. Just like Queen Kunti, despite going through all these apparent dukkhas or distress situations, inside she was not suffering at all. So yes, you might be in pain, but you may not be suffering. But I just wanted to add that. But yes, the real way to know is to keep practicing, get the realization, and then we will know what that bliss feels like.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji, for adding that. It's wonderful. Okay, so I guess we had a wonderful discussion on these few verses. So we will wrap up here. Thank you so much for your wonderful association, reading, discussion, comments, and realizations. We'll wrap up here. Grantraj, Bhagavad Gita Upanishad ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Bol.